Meanwhile, we want to hit this story, which is really important. The global pandemic is taking a heavy toll on New York City transit workers. And a report by the independent nonprofit news outlet The City finds MTA employees are dying from COVID-19 at an alarming rate. Bus drivers have taken the biggest hit out of the agency's 74,000 person workforce. And for more on this, let's bring in the city's senior reporter, Jose Martinez. Jose, thanks for waiting around to talk to us. How do these numbers compare to other city agencies like the NYPD and the FDNY?
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And, you know, you really need look no further than the numbers of the dead transit workers here in New York to tell a really somber story. At this point, and this is as of last night, 59 workers from the Metropolitan Transportation Authority had died as a result of COVID-12. And when you compare that to the NYPD, when you compare that to the FDNY, those numbers are significantly higher. The MTA is the authority that operates the buses and the subways here in New York. And as you know, those have kept running throughout this whole pandemic, 24/7, offering service for essential workers. And those essential workers, certainly among them, those bus and subway workers, and they have been hit very hard by this. Their ranks hit extremely hard during this time.
So the thing about New York is it's basically sort of at the leading edge in terms of the coronavirus and large cities in this country. But what we're seeing in New York, we are going to see in other big cities as well. We talked a little bit earlier, Jose, about the death of a Detroit bus driver who made a viral video talking about people coughing. I live in Philadelphia, where public transportation here initially said that in order to get on a bus, you had to wear a mask. They reversed that decision after there was kind of an uncomfortable viral video showing somebody being thrown off a bus for not wearing a mask. So now they're not demanding that passengers wear masks. And I kept on thinking, what is the union saying about this? So what is the union in New York saying about this?
Well, here in New York, this has been going back several weeks now. Into early March, the Transport Workers Union had been pushing for its workers to allow them to wear masks. Now, the MTA initially said that that went against their regulations, that they were not to wear those masks. It turned into a big struggle. Eventually, the MTA backed down to the point where subway workers and bus operators were allowed to wear these masks without fear of penalty. However, one piece of this struggle has been that the MTA initially did not distribute masks to some frontline transit workers. I reported a story in the city several weeks back, or it feels like years ago at this point, to be honest with you, about some of the stockpiles of those N95 masks that they had in some bus depots. The bus union leaders were crying out for those, saying, give them to our workers. Unfortunately, the toll has been high among transit workers, as I said earlier, none more so than among the bus drivers. At last count, according to the TWU, 10 bus operators have died as a result of COVID-19.
You know, Jose, my heart just breaks when I see and I learn of the numbers that you're talking about here with essential workers like the MTA, but also all city agencies, the FDNY and NYPD, our bodega owners, the people working in grocery stores. These are front-facing individuals. The cashier who is working at the pharmacy, these are people who are front-facing and have to be at work, and oftentimes they need that paycheck. So the question becomes, what is the MTA doing to protect its workers?
At this point, the MTA has been cleaning its subway stations even more frequently than they usually do. They've been cleaning the buses, anywhere that employees touch, anywhere that subway riders touch. So those MetroCard vending machines, which are, you could say they're akin to iPads, you punch in your numbers. They've taken away certain things so that people do not touch. As far as the workers, they've given out gloves, they've given out hand sanitizers, they've allowed them to wear masks at this point. Hundreds of thousands of masks have been distributed to the workforce. The MTA at this point, though it's taken a very big hit, is trying to do all that it can to protect its workforce and its riding public. And, you know, everyone calls this the city that never sleeps, but right now it's very much a city that's sort of taking a nap. But you know who's not taking a nap? It is those transit workers. It is those people who are moving by the transit system, and they need a safe and reliable and clean system. And this is going to have a tremendous impact on the use of mass transit as we get out of this thing, hopefully at some point in the near future.
Jose, could demographics rather also be playing a role when it comes to the coronavirus, the demographics of the MTA workforce?
Sure. If you look at the MTA's workforce, and it's 70,000 overall in the entire agency, that includes commuter railroads, that includes paratransit, that includes headquarters, and of course the buses and subways. That's a lot of people. The makeup of the MTA is more than 50%, it's 56% Black and Hispanic, another 10% is Asian. So it gives you some sense of the workforce, how the MTA shapes up. And a story I had last week about bus operator Ernesto Hernandez, who died as a result of COVID-19. His son said to me, you know, he is the MTA. He's an outer borough guy from Brooklyn. He's a Hispanic guy, middle class. These are the workers. This is the face of the MTA. And I think that that's one reason that people are captivated, if you will, by the plight of the bus workers, because they really do tell the story of the victims of this horrible mess.
All right, Jose Martinez, thank you so much for bringing this element of the story to us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.